This is my life, so don't worry. This is my life.
3, 2, 1. Welcome everybody to the God is Awesome podcast. My name is Aaron. I'm your host today, and we in this podcast go over regular Christians' testimonies about how God has impacted and shaped their life. Today we got Shari on the mic. We got Shari in the podcast. Shari, say what's up to everybody.
Hi guys, how are you? Hope everybody's having a blessed Sunday.
Before we get started and throw you into the podcast here, just want to let everyone know, just to be able to subscribe to us on iTunes and rate us and all that good stuff. It helps the podcast rank up and, get more reach and all that, and invite people to the group.
Yes, guys, do that.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a Facebook group for sure. All right, Shari, I guess how we start off, I just kick it over to you about an origin story. An origin story is, where you coming from? What was your mindset before Christ? Kind of shaping, who were you before you met Christ?
Well, I was born in Jamaica, Kingston, Jamaica, and I went to a Catholic school called Holy Childhood. And in that school, we were introduced to God. We did a lot of prayer, a lot of worship. I loved it because, we prayed when we got in the morning, we prayed before lunch, we prayed when we got back from lunch, we prayed before we left for the day. And there was a part in the morning where all the grades will line up outside and sing, gospel music. Mm-hmm. So that was a big part. I love that part of my life. We didn't really go to church as I was a kid. We didn't go to church a lot. Well, I don't think we went to church. I went to church with my sister. She used to go to a Pentecostal church, and she would bring me and my little sister to church with her. But that stopped. We didn't go that much anymore. So there was always God in our lives, but it was never something that, consistent, where when we were at home, we did pray before we ate, but it wasn't like something that we learned every single day.
Gotcha. It was something you guys did is like on the weekends or something?
Yeah, no, we didn't go to church on the weekends. It was nothing about, everything wasn't about God in our household. Okay. It was more about family. So our family would get together for everything, and we would gather together and, stuff like that. But it wasn't about going to church, and it wasn't the main focus of our lives.
Okay.
So how we came to America is that my dad got ill, and he suffered from diabetes when he was younger, and also had kidney failure. So he ended up coming to Miami to get treatment, dialysis, and all that. And then, eventually we moved here so that he was in Jamaica when we moved here in 1991, but he was supposed to come up Christmas, after we moved. My mom got us settled into school and all that. And then the day he was supposed to come here, which was 2 days before Christmas, he passed away. My sister went to pick him up, went to wake him up to get him ready to get on the plane, and he was already dead. So that was devastating for us as a family, because he was our rock. He was everything. He was even a dad to many people that weren't related to us. He just was that person. So we had to fly back to Jamaica the same day, which was December 23rd, 1991, to get everything arranged for his, funeral and all that stuff.
So how old were you?
I was 12.
And so just one morning, your sister tried to wake him up, and he.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my sister, two of my sisters, and one of my brothers. I'm a family of 7. There's 7 of us, and she was coming. She was taking care of him while my mom was up here, making sure that me and my other sisters and everybody was in school. And yeah, she went to go wake him up, and he already passed away the day he was here. And
so you guys left on the airplane?
Yep, we went straight there, and that's another thing that I want to say, how God is awesome in so many different parts of my life, but we were on the next flight. Normally that would never happen. For 5 of us to get on a flight, we got there, everything was already laid out for us. We just had to make phone calls, and we had tickets in 30 minutes. We were on the next flight out to go to Jamaica, which was very weird. Yeah. And when my dad passed away, we came back to America. And first of all, coming from Jamaica to America was very, very difficult for me
Yeah.
because there was a big culture change. And
Sure.
especially coming from Jamaica to Port St. Lucie, where there was nothing. My mom worked a lot of hours.
Yeah.
So there I was in a new place with a place much different from where I was coming from because it was very strict in Jamaica. Here, everything seemed more laid back. Then I started getting into trouble. So
What do you mean by trouble? What does that mean?
like just I think hanging out with the wrong crowd, doing the wrong thing, started lying to my mom about where I was, or
So
just different things, I think.
So how did the loss of your dad affect your growing up? You were only 12, right? How did it affect?
I was only 12, and it affected me greatly. And I think that's one of the reasons why I don't know why I would use something that he was everything to me and I lost him, why I would go into that route of, destruction, if I should say. But looking back, I didn't have, my mom wasn't around because she was working so much. She had to be back in Jamaica taking care of things. My brother and sister were here with me, and I was very rude and disrespectful to I was just a different person.
So maybe two questions. How did your mom keep going back to Jamaica? Like, was that just finalizing the loss?
Because we still had a house. Yeah, finalizing that, we had a house there. My dad had his own business there, so everything had to be like taken care of.
Sure.
So she had to go back there to take care of different things because we were going to be moving here, but it wasn't like our whole lives were going to be separated from Jamaica at that time.
Gotcha.
I guess he would still have his business and somebody would be running it, but it was just a lot of back and forth for her. And then when she came here, she had to work a lot of hours because, the lifestyle that we had back in Jamaica is not the same lifestyle that we had here.
And that created like a void because she was dedicating all of her energy elsewhere. And you went into what you described as destruction. What do you mean by self-destruction?
Well, I was just, so first of all, when you come to, for me, when I came to this country, it was a lot different. The whole lifestyle was different. So you meet people. Well, first of all, when I came here, it was kind of like, people are like, oh, you're from Jamaica, you can speak patois, oh, say something in Jamaica for me. And then it became, people were interested in me and wanted to know about my culture. But I started just doing liking the wrong boys, doing the wrong thing, lying about where I was going to be, skipping school, getting caught, stuff like that.
So just a rebellious attitude after you had such a tight family ecosystem, then you started just being rebellious. 12 and up. Okay.
Yeah. And I think I was the only one out of everybody who was acting like that. I was very, very bad. So that led into me getting into a very bad relationship with who's my kid's dad now. Okay. I got pregnant when I was 16, which was, I wouldn't say that my family looked down on me for it, but I'm sure it wasn't something that they expected, for me to be pregnant at 16.
Was this part of the rebellion then, 4 years later?
Rebellion, yep. Going out, hanging out with people I shouldn't have been. My kid's dad was 6 years older than I was. So of course that was, bad too. Yeah. Very bad. So but I didn't care. I didn't care what anybody had to say. Everybody, was telling me I shouldn't be with them, trying to steer me in the right direction. But I just wanted to do what I wanted to do. It was nobody could tell me anything at that point. I was just stuck in my own head, doing my own thing. And no matter how much I was hurt or whatever, I just kept still going on and on with it. What
went through your mind as a pregnant 16-year-old?
Well, I was scared. First of all, I didn't know I was pregnant until I was 4 months because I didn't know what my body was telling me. I was 16. I had no idea. Then finally I went to the doctor, found out, and I told my sister, who is 6 years older than I am. And I was like, I'm pregnant. I don't know what I'm going to do. And she was like, well, you have to tell mommy. And I told my mom, and she's like, I already knew. I was just waiting for you to tell me. And I'm like, well, I wish you would have told me because I didn't know I was. It would have been nice if you would have told me. She's like, I already knew. Maybe she thought I was keeping it from her. Maybe she thought I was keeping it from her. I really wasn't. I really didn't know what was going on with my body, and I was scared as a 16-year-old. So immediately I wanted to drop out of school. I was embarrassed.
Sure.
I didn't want to go to school pregnant. I didn't want to do this. And she was like, no, you are going to school no matter what. This is what you decided to do. This is your life now. And this is what you're going to, this is what's going to happen. You're going to go to school. Yeah. So I did go to school, and I was, of course, looked at, judged by everybody.
You were big belly then, like going into it,
well, I really thank you, God. But I only gained 11 pounds when I was pregnant with both of my kids. And so when I went there, nobody really could tell I was, but people that knew me knew that I was. And even when I had my daughter and I went back to school, people actually thought that I lost the baby because they didn't know I was that far along. But it was a very big challenge for me because I did not want to go through that. I wanted to hide. I didn't want anybody to see me. I was embarrassed of my action. I was embarrassed that I was probably the only 16-year-old girl pregnant in high school walking around with a big belly, because I didn't see anybody else. It was just me at that time.
Yeah. So, yeah. And so you didn't hear no gossip, no nothing, kind of just.
Of course. There was a lot of gossip.
Oh, really? Oh, geez, yeah.
But, that was my thing. I had to, and I had a couple friends in high school. That was it. I didn't have a lot of friends, and I still don't have a lot of friends now. My family is mostly my friends, because I know what gossip can be like. And it's not that I don't open myself up to friendship either. It's just that, my family, I have a big family, and to separate my time with family and friends, that I don't really have that. And my kids, it's really hard for me. So I never really had a lot of friends, but yes, there was a lot of gossip in school. It was very embarrassing.
Is that still today? Do you still feel like that today? Like you don't want a lot of friends?
No, not that I don't want a lot of friends, but I don't know. I have what God has put in my life. Like I have friends that I talk to all the time, and there's friends that I talk to once in a while, but I don't really have a big friendship base.
Gotcha.
Like I have like I said, 6 brothers and sisters, so they keep me busy, and my kids and my nieces and nephews. So
okay.
But in high school, it was my sister and a couple of other friends that I had.
Gotcha.
So
but then you're pregnant and you gave birth, and so what happened after?
So what happened after? Had to get a job, had to start taking care of my daughter, which was very hard for me. I didn't know how to, and I would say to my mom that she doesn't, she would try to intervene, and I would you don't know everything. let me take care of my daughter the way I want to take care of my daughter. Just that, you don't want anybody to get involved. But I don't know why I was like that either, because my mom was very helpful. She did everything that she could for me, but I had that mentality. And if I did something wrong and somebody told me that I should do it, I was just very erratic. I didn't have any calmness about me. I was just angry, restless, or just, rude, looking back, I don't like how I was. I was very, very rude. And I was like, and then, the guy that I was with, he ended up having kids. My daughters, thank God, they're good. They're very close with their brothers and sisters, but he had a child before I gave birth with somebody else. And then I tried to separate from him. I was like, listen, I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to do this. So he didn't agree with it, and things led on, and then I got pregnant with my other daughter. So 2 kids by him.
Sorry, I'm losing the timeline here. So you have 2 kids by the guy who you had the first kid with at 16?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And that relationship was tumultuous, and then you had a second kid.
I can hardly hear you, Aaron.
Sorry. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
So you're saying, can you explain that to me again? It was one guy at 16, and then you had another.
One guy. And I was with him for a long time. And even though he wasn't present in my first daughter's life, I would just allow him to come and go in my life as he pleases.
Gotcha.
Kind of thing.
Okay.
I knew he wasn't good, but it wasn't something that I could just break off, or felt guilty about breaking off or whatever the case may be. We just kept going on. And, at one point I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't feel good about it. And I was telling him no. And he tried to persuade me that we should be together. And I'm like, no. And then things, like I said, things led on. And then I got pregnant with my other daughter.
Why not?
When I got pregnant with my other,
why didn't you feel good about it? Why didn't you feel good about it?
Because he was going back and forth between me and somebody else.
Oh, okay.
He had somebody else pregnant at the same time that I was pregnant.
Okay.
And he was going back and forth between us, and I didn't feel good. I didn't feel good.
Yeah.
And as a mom, of my brand new daughter, I was like, I wouldn't want that for my kid. And I just started thinking differently, and I was like, I don't want this.
Yeah.
But I ended up getting pregnant from him. I didn't want to, and then this is how I believe God saved me from this relationship. And for the other relationship that I got into, is that even though it sounds bad, he got arrested for something, and that was my chance to get away.
Sure.
Because I didn't know how to do it on my own. I didn't want to listen. And if I did it on my own, then I would have said everybody else was right and they knew everything. And here I was in the same situation that I was not happy with, that everybody warned me about before. And if I would have given it up, then it would be like, oh, well, I told you this was right. And I didn't want anybody to be right about my life.
And you've got a pride.
I wanted to make the own decision.
Yeah.
So I stayed in that relationship for the wrong reasons, I think.
It sounds like
16,
pride.
17. Yeah.
It sounds like pride over there, right? It sounds like, you didn't want to prove people right and you didn't want to be wrong.
Yeah, that's what it was.
That's rough. So where does that take us?
Sorry, you're breaking up again.
Sorry. So where does that take you now in your story?
So that takes me now from leaving one relationship to another, where this guy, that my kid's dad, was, I probably would say, more emotionally abusive, to a physically abusive relationship, to where I was beaten to, I don't want to say almost death, but beaten really, really bad. And my sister is the one that found out about it. My oldest sister that lives in Jamaica, she found out about it, and she tried to get me the help that I wanted to get out. I still wouldn't listen.
How did she?
I don't know what it was. I would not listen to anybody. She found out because she saw the bruises. So, or I don't know. She did not say the bruises. There was an incident when we were driving on Port St. Lucie Boulevard, and he was basically punching me in my arm, to where somebody that was driving on PSL Boulevard saw it and called the cops. And then I had to call my sister. So she didn't see the bruises, but there were bruises, and she was like, I had to tell her what was going on at that point, but it had been going on for a long time.
Why did you say?
And again, I would not leave. I don't know what it was. I cannot tell you why. I don't know why. I would not leave. I would make excuses for them, though they're going through things. He didn't mean it. Everything you can think of. And again, going back and forth until he was arrested. And I was like, that is my way out. And I feel like, I don't know if I'm saying this right or not, but I feel like those are the times where I needed saving, but only God could have saved me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that happened, and then what else do I need to talk about? So those things happened, and those things, I think, formed my character. Like, for a long time, I was just I don't want to let anybody in. After that, but it's like I could never be alone. So I always needed to have some, like a man, to have somebody in my life to make me feel whole, which none of those relationships made me feel whole. None. Well, no relationship that I've been in, even though I'm married now, does not make me feel whole.
Yeah. No, for sure.
I found that out.
Yeah. So. No, it's only God who does that. And I just want to say that,
right, exactly.
No, I mean, the reason why, like, there's this, the man is put in this relationship with the wife is that,
Sorry.
yeah. So guys should never do that. A man should never do that.
I'm sorry, it's breaking up again. Sorry.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. It's just it just keeps going in and out.
Yeah. Well, I just want to let you know that guys should never have to do that or resort to that.
Yeah.
It's ugly. It's really ugly, and it's a stain on, what God created the family to be. But let's continue. Yeah. I mean, you got saved out of these toxic relationships. You're now learning that a relationship doesn't make you whole. Where does this take you now?
Well, let's see. We're going to talk about my mom's death, because that had a big impact on my life as well. My mom got sick. I can't tell you exactly. I'm not good with timelines, to be honest, but I know that maybe it was like 2005, 2006. My mom got really sick, and she also had diabetes. She suffered from kidney failure. And one day, God brought all my brothers and sisters together, except my brother that lives in Jamaica, to go to her doctor's appointment with her, to find out if she's going to go on dialysis or not. And when the doctor looked at my mom, they basically said she needs to go and have dialysis today. She needs to be admitted into the hospital today. And thank God he brought us all together to go through that, because it was very rough, because she basically almost died on her first dialysis. But, her health went on. She had to be on strict dialysis. She passed away in 2008, March 25th, 5 days after my birthday. And she died in my arms.
No. Oh, man.
So that was rough. And, that took me to drinking every day to try to get away the flashbacks. Not that I don't think I was in a bad place, but I was using something to cover up my pain. So I wanted to be strong for everybody else, but I was hurting my own. So I was in a dark place for that. Then in 2013, my niece died in a car accident. That was painful for all of us, because she was not just our niece, she was our sister, our cousin, very close to us. And I questioned myself. I had been in so many car accidents in my life. I'm like, why didn't I die in those car accidents? Why did she have to die? She was building up so many things. And then a year later, my brother-in-law passed away, and he had been in our family for 22 years. He was one of my sister's husbands, and he was at work one day, fell, hit his head, and died immediately. And, his daughter was, in her teenage years. He had another daughter that was, just 10 or something. I can't remember. Maybe she was 11. But, we had a series of serious deaths that went on in our family. Yeah. And when you think about my mom and dad passing, it was kind of like you prepared yourself for it. You knew it was going to come. You knew they were sick. But I think those two had a rough impact on us. And that is a dark place that not only I am in, but my family,
Sure.
And
sure.
I don't know.
It's hard.
Yeah, it's very hard, but I'm trying to pull through. And that's why I decided to do this, because last year sometime, it was impactful to me, but I don't remember. But Zeus sent me a sermon that he did. And that's when I started to come back to church every day, because I read the New Testament. I prayed every day, but it wasn't enough. I felt still empty.
Yeah. So what changed?
That, well, I don't know. I don't know exactly. I don't know how to say what changed. I don't know. I just made a decision that I was going to start going back to church, because I realized it wasn't what I was doing on my own wasn't working. So I started going back to church. Then they came up with the 40 days of prayer. So I started doing that. And then I joined Missy and Jeff's community group, because I want to start revolving my life around God.
Yeah. Why? Of all the things, like, why God?
I need him.
Yeah, we all do.
I need him every day.
Yeah.
And I'm trying. I even said to myself, I wish there was a church service every day because I need it every day.
Yeah.
Living life, going through your stuff or whatever, but just everyday life has so much pressure on you. And to see when Pastor Scott talks about the stuff here, you have to see the long run. So
Yeah.
I see the long run, so I need to make the steps to do it.
Yeah. Well,
so that's what I wanted to say. That's why I think God is awesome, because he never left me. And he's providing all these different tools for me to get close to him. So it's just a matter of me making a decision to do it.
Yeah. But God's
when I was asked to do this, huh?
God's never left you,
I know he's
always been there for you, church service or not,
Well, now I can say that because I look back at my life and there is not one thing. I mean, I have suffered loss. I have never suffered a loss greater than somebody else. I have never done anything worse than somebody else, or maybe I have done something worse. But I think what I'm trying to say is that all these events, he has laid out either a rescue for me, people in my life to be my earth angels, to say you need to do this, or something may happen to help somebody. I know that he's never left me, but I have never I didn't know I could have a personal relationship with God until so I used to go to Word of the Cross. That's how I met Zeus. Zeus is one of my husband's good friends.
Mm-hmm.
So I started to go to Word of the Cross, and then when we started going to Sunlight, it was very different. And my daughters used to go to Word of the Cross with me, and they liked it because of the whole atmosphere, the vibe, everything. And when we started going to Sunlight, I didn't used to go to Sunlight as much. But when I used to work for the treatment center, and they said, who would volunteer to bring people to church, I would always volunteer, and I would always bring the clients to Sunlight. But it was never something I would do consistently. It would be just something sporadic. If I felt down, I would go. It was never about going every time to learn. It was just about to make something feel better. Because I had, before Word of the Cross or anything, I used to go to church like for Easter or Good Friday, but they never preached the gospel. So I never heard the gospel before. It was always about, if you do this, you're going to go to hell. It was always about the law.
Yeah.
It was never about the gospel and how Jesus died for you and you're saved and you're free. I never heard that before until I started going to Word of the Cross. And, then I started having a different insight on how everything was, but it still wasn't grasping to me.
Yeah.
It still wasn't grasping to me until, like I said, I asked Zeus, I said, I want to start reading the Bible. And he said, start with the New Testament. And so I did. And I read the whole New Testament, and I highlighted and I underlined, and things that made a difference in what I was reading. And I thought I knew it all just by reading the Bible and praying. But I realized there was something different, something else that I needed. And I do want to build on my relationship with God. That's why I'm, trying. I'm trying my best to build this relationship with God so I can get through the rough times. With my kids and my husband and my family, I need him to get through it. And he's never left me at all. And it was one of the story I wanted to share before I go. I don't know if I'm running out of time, if I'm talking too much.
No, you're fine.
My cousin, one of my cousins' wife, I had a thing with dreams. And I relied a lot on my dreams, because there were some times that I would have a dream, and the next day or the day after something would happen. And I'm like, I dreamt that. And it was all about if somebody was going to pass away or passed away, I would always have a dream. I don't know why. I don't know what it was, but I asked my cousin to have his wife pray with me. about it because I thought it was negative. I felt it was a negative thing that was going on with my mind.
Sure.
And she prayed with me and she asked me, she says, tell me about a time that you felt alone, that you didn't think that God was around. And I went back to a time where I was maybe 10 years old or so, and I was home alone with the lady that was watching me, and my dad was home, and he was sick at the time before he passed away, and he started having a seizure, and I've never seen somebody have a seizure. So, the lady was panicking, and she was like, oh my God, he's having a seizure, and I ran back there, and I just saw my dad having a full-blown seizure, and I was scared out of my mind. And I started I went to the phone, and we had just got a phone in Jamaica because for most of my life in Jamaica, we didn't even have a telephone. So I just had a phone, and I don't even know how I remember these phone numbers, but I was calling everybody, all my aunts, my uncles. I was calling everybody to tell them that my dad was having a seizure because my mom was out at the market with my brother getting groceries. And as soon as I was calling my last aunt, my mom pulled up in a taxi with my brother. And I was like, Daddy's dead, Daddy's dead. I remember saying it. I'm like, she was like, what? And they pulled him out, the taxi driver, my brother, they pulled him into the taxi and they took him to the hospital. And when I told her about that, she goes, close your eyes and think about, where do you see Jesus? And I thought it was very weird because I've never, she's doing this with me. And I said, well, I saw him. I said, he was there with me the whole time. He was telling me the phone numbers to dial, and he helped bring my father to the taxi.
Wow.
And that's how I see him in my past, where he was not even acknowledged. That's what he was doing.
Yeah. Just with you.
So
it's a long road, and longer still, yeah. But that
yes,
he's always been with you, and that's some tough stuff. That's the relationships and the death and the loss and the darkness. It's the rebellion.
Yeah,
he's always been with you, and
I just want to build on my relationship with him, and I know that he never leaves me, but I don't feel like, for me, that I have given the time that I needed for myself to get to know him. And for my future, I just want to be able to, become a member of Sunlight, be a part of whatever I can to serve, because that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Not just going to church and, singing with you guys and praying with you guys and listening to you guys preach, but I want to be a part of something. Yeah. And God knows that. And like I said, he sees these steps. I remember when Pastor Bill was talking about spurring somebody on, and Ashley's like, go join a
I think we lost her.
Well, I'm hungry. I want to get a snack. And I'm like, okay, well, let's go in and get a snack. And I took him in to get a snack. And then when I saw the groups, I saw Ecclesiastes. Book actually saved me from when my niece passed away. That was the book that got me through her death. And even though it's sad, and it was actually uplifting for me, and for me to know that everything that we go through here is temporary, and our main focus needs to be on God.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that helped me a lot. So that's why I joined that group, and I love the people in the group. I love going there. It's something I look forward to doing on Friday night. So I'm me on my journey. I'm just getting started, and I can't wait to see what he has in store for me.
Absolutely. Let's finish off this interview with the one last question.
Yes.
Why do you think God is awesome?
I think God is awesome because he saves, he rescues, he forgives, and he loves infinitely.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Shari, thank you so much for sharing. It's tough, and I feel honored. This is like holy ground that we're walking in. Where God has been in your life, and so you guys, if you listen to this interview and you find it, you want us to support her and pray for her as she goes through life, like all of us. If you know anyone who is going through the same stuff, please share this share this testimony with them. Invite them to the group, and so we could get, we could pray for them and be there for each other. That's what this whole thing's about. Anyway, guys, thank you, Shari.
Thank you very much, Aaron, for having me, and thank you, Zeus, for asking me to do this, because I wouldn't have done it if you wouldn't have asked.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for coming on this podcast. Thanks, you guys, for watching.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you guys next time.
All right. Thanks. Bye.